On this episode of the Paint and Paper Hustle, we're working our plasma table overtime. We're designing and cutting the brackets for our front seats, along with designing and cutting the brackets for our rear suspension. Now, Mike has stepped in and completely changed our plans to go 4-link, and you're definitely going to want to see what he's come up with. Jojo, what are we about to do? Cut some parts. All right, we're gonna try to cut these seat tabs this morning. Everything woke up. Oh, I'm a little rusty. It's been a couple weeks since I cut something. Let's see here. We are going to do our Volvo seat tabs. All right. Enter. Cut speed. We changed it to 35. We got to cut all of these tabs this morning. These are little tabs we're going to hopefully mount these seats today. Let's see here. Now we just need to lay out our table. I think we got it this time, Jojo. What you think? Yes. Is it all going to fit? So all we're doing is we're just mapping out our perimeter right now of all the tabs running right down the edge, just trying to utilize all the metal and make sure it's got enough room. So you can see the little red cursor. We have mapped the perimeter out of all this cuts. So instead of simulating all the center cuts and taking all that time, we've mapped all the cuts. So I've come in here and looked at all of my pierces and my lead-ins. Everything looks to be okay. I think we got enough room. I think we're gonna run it. Are you ready, Jojo? Yes. All right. Okay, go ahead and get up, Jojo. Let's move this chair out of demo mode. Enter. We should be good, I think. So, as you see, it is a beautiful Sunday morning here. We just hit the shop and got some tabs plasma cut on the table, and we're gonna get straight to work today. So yesterday afternoon, I went ahead and sat this seat in this car. Now, the biggest thing that I needed to figure out is where exactly the height. So your seat bottom right here, it goes up and down. All right, when you're building something completely from scratch, you wanna make sure that you have a range of movement that is useful. You have to figure that out. Forward and backwards, you got to figure that out. You don't want to sit your tracks in the wrong spot where you can't get full range when the seat's all the way forward, like you can't get it far enough forward, or you can't get it far enough backwards. So on this, since it's so tight in here, we basically want to be able to take the seat all the way to the back pan, and we want to be able to take the corner of the seat up here all the way to the transmission tunnel. That's going to give us the full range possible that we can utilize in here. Then I had to go to Fusion 360 and design up tabs, because the tabs that are on this seat, they're not gonna work. Now, back in the day, I would have simply took some corner iron or some square tubing, and I would have just made something that would have kind of worked and put a bolt through it. But when we're trying to shoot for a higher class build, we are not exactly looking for something that will just work or be just good enough. We want something that's going to look like it's supposed to be there and look like a finished product when it's done. That's the goal. On our rear end, in the previous video, as you've seen, we got this thing set in here. Now, Mike come over yesterday afternoon and we designed up the suspension for it. I don't want to spoil it, but you need to make sure that you turn on that notification button. We'll notify you when we post a new video. We greatly appreciate it, along with a thumbs up, and it's gonna keep you up to date. We're only doing one a week right now, so you don't wanna miss it. We're switching the rear suspension. I tried to explain the best I could in previous videos that the seat pan is important, the front seats are important, the floor pan's important. All that stuff on this kind of build are things that have to go in certain places that cannot change. The suspension can change a million times. You can build a custom suspension around the car, but the actual body and structure of the car cannot change. This is not a race car, so we don't just get rid of the back seat or get rid of inner panels or whatever and then just put flat tin work over it, whatever. That's gonna be tacky for a build like this. It's getting in a full custom interior. So your pans go first, then your suspension. With that though, after we got the rear end in there, and Mike stopped by yesterday, and we really looked into depth of kind of what, you know, we possibly are working with the 4-link, how to get the upper bars around the seat pans and how to, you know, do everything. That's when we decided that 4-link is not gonna be the best. So Mike sat here with me, and me and him designed up a whole blueprint of basically cross member, suspension, bag locations, everything for the rear. Pieces that we plasma cut, we are actually letting them soak out here in vinegar, okay? So I went and took lunch break, and we're gonna check on them here shortly, but supposedly this is a good way to loosen up the mill scale on your parts. So hours worth of TIG welding this morning, and I'm just about done with one seat. We have these little standoffs made on them. Whoever invented TIG welding, I hate you. I understand that there's a time and a place for it, but dude, it just slows your progress down so freaking bad that it is unreal. MIG welding, man, dude, we would have been done with all of these things within like 20 minutes or so. But my TIG welds don't look that great, but I'm forcing myself to TIG these items to get used to TIG welding and to try to learn TIG welding, because I do understand that there's a time and a place for it versus MIG welding. You can't MIG weld everything. And also MIG welding, even when on the gas, all the splatter, you can really light this thing on fire. So I get it, but I'm not happy about getting it. I wanted to point out, though, just in case you have been on the fence about welders, I'm not sponsored by Prime Weld or anything, but we bought this Prime Weld, what is it, 225X, I think it is, it's Prime Weld. We bought this thing over a year ago. Oh, let's see where it says. And the regulator dropped. I dropped the regulator right out the box, and the little face of it got damaged on it where the needle don't work to show me how much is in the bottle. This still works, but I never know how much is left in the bottle. And now it's leaking at the torch up here where it's just continuously flowing out. Even when the machine is turned off, it's just continuously flowing just a little bit. So you'll pound through a bottle fast. We've already ran through the whole entire bottle. I reached out to them. They have a warranty. I bought it off Amazon. And I reached out to them and asked them, told them about the issue of it leaking. I said, pretty sure it's the flow regulator thing in there, the purge regulator, whatever it is. There's an air regulator flow thing in there. So I'm pretty sure it's that. And then I said, also, do you warranty the actual regulator on the bottle? It got dropped and the little gauge is damaged. And he literally got me a box right out. No information or anything. I guess maybe they looked up my email off Amazon. I'm not sure how they did that. But dude literally sent me a new regulator and the regulator piece that's inside the machine. So being we just run out, I figure this is the time to install all of that. Finally got the first side in. I've wasted the whole entire day because of this right here, this TIG welding. It's like anything else, the more you practice, the faster you're gonna get, and that's what I'm hoping that it will pay off in the long form. But for right now, it has completely trashed my Sunday. I definitely was not supposed to be only on one seat. I should have had both seats knocked out, mounted, floor structures in, everything. But that's not where we're at. So a couple things that we'll discuss real fast with these seats. Number one, if you're new to the channel, this car was chopped and sectioned. So it was chopped, I think, 2 inches, and it was sectioned about 6 to 8 inches. It was very, very long in here if you look back. And the reason why we sectioned it, if you should definitely check out the first videos back to this when we did the chop, is basically we didn't rework the roof at all. So we cut the roof off, took it off, we cut the car in half. So we had 3 parts of a car, and we kept chopping the center right here and kept pulling this car forward until the roof lined up. So what that gave us is we have no pie cuts in this car at all. Everything matches all back up. You look on the other side and you can still see the cuts. There's no pie cuts in my pillars. You see a lot of builders and guys that chop that pie cut stuff. There's no pie cuts in my doors. There's no pie cuts anywhere. Everything fits back together exactly with the lines of this car. You can see over here, we've got one cut around the window, one cut through here, one cut here, one cut here, one big cut around the window is covered in body filler now, but there's no pie cuts. You can back up and vouch for that. Very unique way to chop a car, but that gives you a very, very clean look whenever you're done. Ignore all this. I just put it up here. That's for my reference. That's rear end design. So I'm not happy with a couple things in the floor. We're going to definitely go back and redo some of this. The B-rolls, first off, I have the B-rolls following the front B-rolls, which follow the firewall. So they come down the firewall in here and they go back, and you can see from the chair being set in here square that they're not square with the chair. Not a big deal. You're not really going to see that after the carpet, but you will see it when the carpet's not in there. So we're going to remake these floor pans, and this time we're going to run the B-rolls off of this. We'll use this pivot point, and then we'll run them parallel with the side, and we'll make sure they don't hit the seat tracks. This is just the results of first fit up. foot room, we have a little bit of wasted foot room right here for sure. So you can look through there and see that there's pretty much nothing there at all. So this was never intended to really sit any adults in the back or anything, basically kids with small feet. And when there is kids in the back, you're definitely going to be more cramped in the front. It's basically a 2-seater coupe with just the back seat. So we're going to take this, instead of chopping this and going all back with this, what we're actually going to do is basically make it where the seat is back just a little bit, and then I'll get my upholstery guy to possibly drop the seat back, foam back as much as he can. And then we'll probably have the feet room, you know, as far back all the way basically flush with this. So that will give us literally another, what is that, 3 fingers, 4 fingers almost, like 4 inches probably. Back, and we'll just remake these pans and then patch that little, remake a corner over there. And this time we will basically go all the way up to here, because if you look down at right here, this B pillar is in line with that. And if you back up a handful of videos, we also intended to line this up with the B pillar. I was just hoping to kind of keep this natural slope versus cutting all that out, because we have a thick piece of metal in here that I was hoping to also retain. But what's going to happen is it's just going to all have to get trimmed back slowly and then welded all together from the backside. Not the end of the world at all, but that's going to give us a lot of foot space when it comes to a child's little foot. But basically this thing is a 2-door coupe. We couldn't move the seats back no more because of the C-notch, the fuel cell. You'd have to had a custom fuel cell, and then you got the rear end right there. You can see where it bags out. It's pretty freaking close to the front. You know, it was a lot to try to fit it in there. Going back and redoing it, we could have probably just did like a custom back seat or something, but I kind of just wanted to use these Volvo seats. I felt like that was going to save me some money, since I already had all this if you back up a couple of videos. So we designed up all the brackets for this car. We have the rear axle mounted in the car, we have the wheels in the car, and we are ready to do the suspension. Now, I spent quite a bit of time actually designing the 4-link brackets. We have talked about 4-link on this car since day 1, all right? Mike threw me a huge curveball. So Mike is extremely knowledgeable in his field, and sometimes it helps whenever you go to actually put the item in the vehicle to see it, for it to kind of dawn on you that maybe your idea that you thought was good is not actually so good. I'm gonna get this thing, let's see here, offloaded. It's almost 5 o'clock Thursday before Easter, and I'm trying to get these cuts done before the weekend. I think this is all of the pieces that I need to mock up the actual arms that we're gonna be making in this video, hopefully. The only thing I got left to cut is the chassis brackets, and I'll cut the chassis brackets tomorrow, Friday morning, out of that other sheet down there because they're kind of big also. This definitely runs up material. I think the bill today at Southern Metals is like 150 bucks. So we're gonna get this thing back in demo. We'll pull this USB drive. We'll shut this thing down. We'll get these to the house soaking in vinegar. That way, come Friday when we get off work, they're ready to go. So these actually cut really clean. Let me pull one off. I messed with my settings, so I did mess up. We cut 1/4-inch plate yesterday. I didn't record it or nothing. And I changed the settings to the recommended settings off of the Eastwood website for 1/4-inch plate. And I didn't take a picture of what we were cutting the 3/16 at. But today I went back in and changed a couple things that I knew need to be changed. But, dude, I mean, that is cutting freaking good. I don't think I want to touch it. I think I'm going to leave it like that. If we need to cut 1/4, I might can bump these other settings back up. Or maybe I should just cut all on the same thing. Y'all let me know in the comments. Do you switch, if you have a plasma table or experience with a plasma table, are you switching back and forth between your 1/8 inch and your 1/4 inch and all that stuff? Or are you pretty much just doing kind of like a generic setting and leaving it alone unless you go down to, of course, like 1/8 inch, 16th, sheet metal? You're going to have to obviously change it. But for this thicker stuff like brackets, are you just rolling with the same setting for like 1/4 and 3/16? I definitely need y'all's help on that, and let me know. Man, these turned out really freaking good. I feel like we caught the learning curve of this pretty quick. So today what we're working on is our rear suspension. Finally, as you've seen in the previous video, we got the axle cut down, so that means we are ready to move forward into putting together this rear suspension. You've seen the plasma table working. That thing has been an absolute tool to have. It's just expanded us in so many ways. If you can afford to purchase one, I highly encourage you to try to get one. I went over in the plasma table video the details on how I afforded it, and pretty much anybody can do it as long as you can make a payment. So the problem with doing a 4-link in the rear of this car is the seat pan. The upper bars we were going to bend. Now, some people had expressed concerns about putting the seat pans in before the 4-link. But what you have to understand is the seat pan and the rear seat is more important than the rear suspension of the car. You can make a rear suspension work. You can change rear suspension. There's multiple options that you could do custom-wise. Seat pan, you can't really change the seat pan so much. The bottom of the seat, where your butt's going to go, is where your butt's going to go. You can't really work too much around that. So seat pan goes first. Interior of the car goes first. Suspension on the rear of a bagged custom vehicle like this absolutely goes last, because it can be changed and modified. And boy, do we have an amazing option for this car. Now, this thing is extremely low down, all right? When it is laid out, the rear end of the car is higher than your butt sitting in the seat. So the rear end is way up there, all right? It resembles basically like a Trans Am. How the rear of a Trans Am, you kind of almost sat lower than the drive shaft. The drive shaft kind of went through the center. So we were going to do the 4-link, bend the upper bar so it wrapped around the seat pan. It's not a performance build. It didn't matter until Mike showed me the C10 suspension. So what we have came up with like this, if you're familiar with the C10 chassis rear suspension, then you already pretty much know what we're copying. This is your axle tube. All right, Mike coming up with this at the last minute was absolutely brilliant. We have figured out the rear drive shaft. He kind of drew out the axle tube here and how we were doing that, and then doing spacer blocks off of it. We basically, when this thing's at ride height, we want kind of the control arms as close to level as possible. It doesn't really have to be, but we kind of want them level as a good neutral ride. These things are going to be long. They're pretty much going all the way from the axle all the way up here to the B-pillars, where we can get them, and this thing should ride like an absolute Cadillac, like it's floating on butter, slipping around on butter. With this, what this allows is we can get this axle way up, all right, but keep our arms way low. So this is how high this axle's up. I think it was total, let's see here, about 9 inches to the center, or to the bottom of the arm. We didn't want the bottom of the arm to hang down below the brake rotor. So when you look through the wheel or you look in here, we don't want anything lower than that rotor is. So that's the reason why we figured everything out and measured it where this should be precise. But basically this thing will U-bolt around the sides of the axle, and then it'll run forward. You can see now the floor pan, how low it is. So that's the floor pan. All right, so that's the reason why we need these blocks basically, so that axle can tuck way up in there, but the arms can still be kind of down level and they're not like all jacked up at a huge angle. So in this video, we're going to get these things put in and show you how this thing is going to work. Now for the air suspension, and these are not done, this still needs quite a few more little tabs, brackets on it. This is the basic of it. For the airbags, look at that. I mean, you can't make this setup up how amazing this thing is. Mike, huge shout out to you for thinking of this. I had no clue about the C10 suspension, and this might be something on your hot rod you want to look into. Just Google, literally, I think it's like 72, 76 C10 rear suspension. So we'll be able to come in here and fabricate a plate. Nope, just me. What you up to?
Well, Mommy said, I'm playing the spring, and Mommy said I could take my pants and under my pants. And
Okay.
So I'm gonna take all my clothes off.
Oh, Lord. For the pivot point, we move up front and we actually put a bushing in. So I don't 100% know the length of this yet, but wherever we determine the rear to be, or the front to fall, that's where we're going to build some more brackets probably to gusset this thing up. This is a greasable bushing, okay? That's going to go in the front, and then it's going to have a pivot point. I'm sure if you know the suspension, you're very familiar with it. So we still need to plasma cut the mounts for this, okay? But we needed to figure out if these things, do they need to go higher? All right, do they need to sit down here? Do they need to come way up here? Do they need to possibly come off of this plate right here? We're not 100% sure on the height of the bag yet until we get it in the car and figure out the mount. So that's the reason why we haven't done that yet, but they will be attached to this suspension. The shock should come off of this also some way at some point, I think. And basically the whole entire setup will be on this one arm. So let's get right to it. That's the first one. I want to go ahead and pull our other brackets out of our vinegar. So we've been letting them soak. Clean them up, and then I want to get them thrown together and tacked up here on the bench also, so that basically I can just pick this whole thing up, put this in the car. We'll go ahead and be able to U-bolt this to the rear axle, support the front with a jack, and then basically figure out where we're going to get it cut at, and we'll be able to mock everything up in the car and then unbolt it and final weld everything on the bench. So it should be a really nice setup. Now for these U-bolts, they're going to get cut to length first off, okay? So they are too long. And then next, we're going to have some gussets in here. I just didn't know exactly how I wanted to do it. I think we'll have a little tiny gusset here. That'll be like a 45, maybe another 45 here, 45 here maybe. But we're going to weld 100% around here, down the bottom. And then in these circles, I did these that are like plug welds. I'm going to weld around these whole entire circles in here, since I can't really get to the inside of this. That way this thing is absolutely strong. We'll box the ends in, we'll box this, we'll box everything all in when we're done. I just needed the main structure of it built. That way I can get some dimensions and then figure out exactly where everything else is going to go before we start putting the final touches of gussets and all that on. So let's dive into the next one. So on this piece right here, we have one mocked up in the car right now, and I'm gonna show you here in a second. But I want to point out something. These top pieces, they're tacked on, but the tacks are gonna get cut off later on. This piece right here gets welded to the axle, and that's what sets your pinion angle. So we don't know the pinion angle 100% yet. We want to be able to play around with it. So that's why I have just tacked this. I'm gonna cut another plate that's gonna go in between here, and then it's gonna basically be just like a truck where this plate will have an alignment tab, all right, that aligns it, or we might even through bolt it since I do have quite a bit of room available. I'm not sure yet. But basically a pin in the center that aligns this block to this block. So this block right here from here down will be welded up 100% to this, and then this one will be welded to the axle. So when you take the car apart, this will stay on the axle, this will stay on the arm, and they will locate with the pin in the center. It's just, this is way easier for me to mock this thing up without having everything moving around and without this piece sliding like this and rotating. This keeps everything perfectly straight during mock up, and it just allows me to figure everything out, and then we'll just cut, like I said, these little tacks, weld that in, and we'll be good to go. So let's put this other side in. I'll show you that other one real fast. All right, so now with the seat pan out and this thing bolted in, you can kind of see a little bit more of how this bolts up, okay? And then these bars run up here to the front. Now, this is where they're gonna get cut to length, and there's gonna be some crossbars. This is the B-pillar bar for the body. There's also gonna be a same 1 or 2 bars in this general area that will allow these tubes to pivot in just like a chassis 4-link bracket that would be on the front with the bushing. Dude, this is such a nice setup. You know, like just it's not in the seat pan. It's just absolutely amazing. And then the only other thing we have to do is add a wishbone. The wishbone will be added also off of the crossbars we put in the frame, and then they will also attach and be tabbed off of these tubes also. So everything literally gets built off of these lower tubes, and the axle just sits on top of this structure that we build, which is just, this is going to work freaking phenomenal. Another thing we had to take into consideration is how do you take the back wheels off? If you're new, back up, check out some previous videos with the fenders on. This thing at ride height should only be showing 25 to 50% of the rim at the fender. Probably a little bit lower, about right here, I think, at ride height is gonna be my guess, or bagged height. So if you got to take the wheel off, it's basically gonna be like taking a drag racing big tire car, changing that thing, but they deflate the tire, and we obviously can't deflate the tire to get this thing out of there. So what we have to do is we have to be able to pivot this rear axle down far enough so that this wheel will come off. Now that means we need quick disconnects on the airbag. We have to fabricate that in, and we need quick disconnects on the shocks. You have to be able to get under there and pull 4 pins, okay, or unless we build them all together. And then you'll be able to rotate this down. This is not a car you change the tire on the side of the road at all. You pretty much are putting this on a tow truck if you get flat to take it back to the house. But you got to be able to think of how to get your wheel off. When you're cramming this large of a tire in a fender and you want that look, you're going to have to sacrifice some comfort to get that look. So the farther forward our pivot point is, all right, then the longer the travel is on the back without getting extreme. So the shorter your pivot point is, basically the quicker it pulls the tire forward. But the farther you have this thing out, the slower it pulls the tire forward into the fender. So you have to be able to drop it. It has to go down at a rate that it doesn't suck it into this inner fender up here, and you can get the tire off. You got to take all of this into account when you're building something custom. What are we doing? No, we're not welding. What's that called? Plasma cutting. Say plasma table. All right, so we cut our length of our tube is the inside diameter of our frame rails, which is 32 1/4. All right, now we found center of the inside of our frame rails because we have our pinion centered. So when we had the axle cut down, we decided that we wanted a centered pinion. So we cut equal to make it centered. In many videos back, we explained all that. So now that the rear end's in the car and we have bolted the straight forward pieces to the rear axle, we now have an overall spread of that. Now the overall spread of that ended up being, I just measured it and forgot it, it's 24 3/8. That was the outside diameter of the square tubes that run front to back. So being we want everything built off of center and we don't want to worry about what's like where it's sitting at from mock-up off the frame rails, we centered the tube. The rear end we want centered, and then we've split the difference of the 24 3/8. We split the center of that, and the center of that ends up being, what is that, 12 1/4, I think it was, or 12 3/16. Quarter, yeah, quarter, 12 1/4. So that's what we marked on the outside. Then we come in 2 inches. So we've come from that split to that, that's 2 inches. So now right here is where our 2x2s are at in the car. Now our bushings, these are the bushings we ordered. When they are fully assembled, all right, so you got your piece that's gonna go in the cross tube, and then you'll have your crush sleeve, you know, that will go in there like that. Of course, your bushings go in the end, but we are not pressing them in right now. This is gonna get coped into the trailing arms. This is the overall diameter that you need for the actual chassis bracket. So even though our trailing arms are 2 inches and our bushing sleeve is 2 inches, all right, the crush sleeve is 2 1/2, because you have to make up for the difference that basically the bushing sticks out. That's not all the way in, but when you're crush sleeve. So that's gonna be 2 1/2. Let's double check that. That's what the ad said. Yep, 2 1/2 on the money. Crush sleeve. So that means that our chassis tabs that we're gonna put on here, they need to be 2 1/2 inches on the inside. Meaning, now that we have our 2 inches here for our square tubing, we need to now split this an inch. So we'll come again, split that an inch. And then we're gonna split that 2 1/2, which of course everybody knows is going to be 1 1/4 inches. All right, so here's our halfway mark for that. Now we'll come off of that center line because I'm gonna keep working the center lines. 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/4 inches. And then we're also going to use the actual crush sleeves as a jig when we go to mount this up. Mark them because this is going to be our inside diameter. You gotta lay all of this stuff out. And it's easier to do this on the workbench than it is laying on the ground. And there's honestly no reason to do it on the ground. All right, so now our crush sleeve should fit between there really good. When we go to install the chassis brackets though, you're gonna see that I'm actually going to probably put one washer on one end of this, but we're actually gonna bolt them together and still split the different center. So let's get our brackets out of the vinegar. I went and took dinner time, and they've been soaking for maybe an hour, not even an hour. They're probably not really gonna be ready to come out, but I wanna get this done, so let's get them out and then let's see what we got. We got all kinds of goodies in here from the plasma table. These actually might be nowhere near ready. It's Saturday afternoon, with tomorrow being Easter. I was really trying to set some of this tonight. I had a lot of events today with Easter egg hunts and stuff like that for the kids, and didn't really make the progress that I wanted to make. But kids are more important than your project, though, always. Let's get a brand new flat wheel. Let's see here. Oh, no. No, 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 no. Don't tell me I don't have no grinding disc. Wow. I have no flat wheels. No. Dude, I thought I had a bunch. Alright, so I guess it's old ones for tonight. We're going to have to get on the good old eBay. Man, that sucks. Let's see if this will even do anything. We will roll like this on these just because I'm gonna burn these in so freaking hot that the scaling is not really gonna matter on these. And we might actually, I need to check, have to take a drill bit and run through the center of these is what I was hoping for. I left myself a little bit slack, I think, so that I can make the hole tight. Let's get them cleaned up and then we'll run the drill through all of them. We'll let the other brackets that we cut for the front end and stuff that are smaller, we'll let them sit overnight. Well, that was a complete waste of time. Brand new drill bit, still does not drill through them holes. However, you can thread these things onto, you could thread the bolts into them basically, and then the shaft will go through it with a hammer. So they're very tight fit. They actually don't need to be drilled. They'll eventually wear themselves loose. They just got to be threaded in. But I do know that when you're plasma cutting, the cut makes the metal hardened. It hardens the metal around there. So I do want to tonight to research how to drill a hole after plasma cutting, if that's possible, which I'm sure it is, because I definitely want to know how to do that and be able to do that moving forward. But brand new $20 bit, and it did not cut it. So now we've got our fixture set up. I have one extra washer in there so that we don't have to fight with nothing fitting in there. We're gonna leave this hanging over the table. And that should be it right there. Put some tack. Boys, we're gonna have us a self roller here very soon. So if you haven't went ahead and hit that notification button, you probably should. Because I got a feeling about, I want to say less than 2 weeks, but for sure less than 30 days, we should have ourselves a roller out into the driveway. We are getting freaking close. The more you run these bolts in and out, the easier it's going to get to take this thing apart. I'm not even going to worry about running a drill bit through it. That's a nice, pretty tight fit. It's beautiful. Then I feel like I made them undersized just a touch, because I know that basically with a plasma cutter it cuts at an angle. And I wanted to be able to drill it, but this is not exactly like a race car. So I know these front brackets are adjustable. Once you set these, you'll have to move these bars as many times as you take leaf springs out of your pickup truck. So however many times you took the leaf springs in and out of your pickup truck, that might be how many times you have to undo this. Oh, were y'all screaming at the TV? Oh man. And I literally told myself, I said, all right, now you're flipping this around. It means the brackets have to be flipped around. Don't mess up. Drop a comment below if you were yelling at the TV. I'm wondering how many of y'all caught that. Oh, buddy. That's why you tack it. All right, so it looks good now. It's faced the right direction. In your fabricator, you learn to kind of always look around at your surroundings. Boy, that thing's cooking hot. It's like cooking chicken. Yeah, buddy. All right. So our bushings are gonna go in there like that. It's gonna be adjustable. Adjustability is only because this thing is so extreme on the mount that it moves up and down, is it basically is cheating, and we don't have to quite figure out as perfect beforehand. We're doing a couple things here with this. Is we're giving ourselves the opportunity to fine tune once it's in the car, once it goes up and down. We'll be able to move that up and down for whatever works best for our situation. If you're gonna plasma cut something, my motto is, Mike told me, he was like, we can get this thing perfect the first time. He was like, it's not like a race car where you have to have adjustable brackets. And I said, Mike, if you're gonna plasma cut something and you're designing something, then there's no reason not to put adjustability in it at all. Not only does it look better, but it also adds a feature that they can be adjusted. So if you want to make, because this is part of the chassis, so if you want to make changes later down the road and do some kind of different bracket, I mean, technically if you wanted to even do a 4-link bracket, you could technically have, you know, an upper and lower mount. This gives you the opportunity and the room to grow. And there's the washer. We made these 6 inches tall. So if you remember, our frame rails are 2x6. They're 6 inches tall. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna come here on the end And we're basically going to take us a tab. It's going to have a little tiny hole in it. We're going to do it like that, all right, on the inside of the pieces. What that's going to allow is the same way if you back up a couple videos. You remember when we bolted down the back package tray or the fuel cell tray, that piece up there? That's going to allow the front seat pans at the seat, where the seats are, you'll be able to bolt them pans and that cross member to this cross member of the car. So it's going to have another point that the body attaches to the frame that you're going to have to undo if you need to pull the body. How many times are you going to pull the body off the frame? Not a lot. So Saturday night before Easter, I think that's going to be it. Mike said that he'll come over Sunday morning if I want and give me a hand putting this thing in. We need to get this in place exactly where it needs to be, get it squared up in the frame, and get it supported. And then we need to square up the rear end. And once we do that, we can then mark the trailing arms, if that's what you call them, where they need to be cut at. We can take them out the car, cut them back down to the correct length, put in our bushings, put in all the final gussets, hopefully on them things, and then put them back in the car. Sit tight.